Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this episode of ITAP Connect series brought to you by Industrial Transformation Asia Pacific and Smart Logistics Indonesia in collaboration with Gear Technologies, where we bring you insights from industry practitioners and opportunities to interact with other session participants as well. Today's session is the first of two episodes that will look at very promising logistics and supply chain sector in Indonesia and the region, focusing on issues, development, as well as opportunities for players in that space. Before proceeding further, we have three quick questions for our audience, and your responses will be most appreciated as they will help us understand your needs and interests better. You should see a pop-up on the screen right now. So the questions are quite straightforward. They ask you whether if you're a transport fleet owner, what's the size of your fleet, and your top three priorities for the transport logistics sector for the next 6 to 9 months, and also key motivations for you in purchasing technology. Okay, so this will be quite straightforward. While you do that, allow me to continue. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Ms. Sulaiza Sabto, Senior Product Marketing Lead for Transport and Logistics here at Gear Technologies, who will be sharing the opening presentation. Sulaiza brings over 19 years experience in product management, product marketing, and product development at companies like Nasdaq, Nokia, StarHub, IBM, and Motorola. Since 2021 at Gear Technologies, she has led product marketing globally and in Asia Pacific, focusing on the automotive, transport and logistics, and P&P industry. I'm happy to hand over proceedings over to you, Sulaiza.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you everyone for your attendance in this webinar. A very good afternoon to you. And I'm very honored to be given a chance to share a brief introduction on Gear Technologies and our contributions towards making a last mile in the e-commerce world. Next, please. So Gear Technologies is a location data and technology platform company. We help our customers understand and model a world that's always moving and changing. And we produce something we call a digital representation of reality. Well, it's a map, but also much more than that, because we would conventionally think of as a map. It is living, dynamic, and continuously updating. Covers not just the roads, but more and more of the world in 3 dimensions, like buildings, factories, stores, airports, and so on. And increasingly, it incorporates the stuffs that move, like vehicles, goods, IT sensors, and people. And this representation of reality is the basis for us and our customers to understand how people, places, and things connect together. Next, please. And since we've been in the location intelligence industry for more than 3 decades, we managed to build our expertise throughout the years, providing multi-industry location intelligence, software and solutions. And we maintain the expertise and technology leadership with recent acknowledgements from leading market research companies, such as Ovum, Counterpoint Research, and Strategy Analytics. So with this expertise, how and where can Gear Technologies provide solution, value, and benefits to our customers? Next, please. Now, in this chart here, you can see that from the global logistic industries, half of US dollars 5.4 trillion comes from land transport. And this grows to 70% when combined with air, sea, and inland transport. Now, however, the fastest growing piece is from CEP, which is Courier, Express, and Parcel Services. And e-commerce, which is a segment of CEP, is growing at more than 20% in many countries. And pandemic only accelerate this further. But how? Next, please. So at the receiver end, people are more demanding of last mile delivery experience. They want shipment visibility, like where's my package? Precise ETA or estimated time arrivals on when can I get my package? But consumers and providers alike want manageable costs. And this puts a lot of pressure on suppliers. And especially when they have to reconfigure their last mile fleet to deal with demand shifts and spikes. Next, please. And knowingly at Gear Technologies, we have to address this real concern in cost, where it predominantly lies in the last mile, about more than 50%. Next, please. And through that, for Gear Technologies, we see a need for a simple full service application, which a straightforward pricing that can help the end users of fleet operators, like the drivers, dispatchers, fleet managers, in managing their last mile fleet operations. So here, last mile is a full service product, a SaaS product to help you plan your operations from job planning to delivery, and easily plan tours to match your daily jobs to the most suitable vehicle and worker. Next, please. And the key values that we want to bring along with this service are to optimize operational efficiency and reduce costs to customers. That's number one. And with features that help not just the fleet managers, but drivers, in order to retain the workforce and provide driver satisfaction and safety. Because with the safe, efficient drivers performing the last mile service, it effectively will naturally increase service quality to consumers. So let me give you some examples of how HIT Technologies does it without here last mile. Next, please. Now, having the ability to schedule or pre-plan beforehand with specific fleet attributions will help drivers a lot. And being able to manage this planning dynamically according to the schedule demand that eases the burden from the planners. And what I want to highlight here is that, in addition, we provide specific features for light and heavy vehicles like truck attributes, for example, legal restrictions, physical restrictions, loading docks, trucks, POIs, and so on. And this is important because in enabling the right vehicle for the right job and suited to the required conditions. Next, please. So what fleet planners can expect is that they can create complex tour plans with detailed directions on how to access a location to optimize the driver's time, improve ETAs, and do more jobs at a time. He can access the list of jobs against a pool of resources and manpower and the available fleets or drivers that are licensed to create the delivery runs for the day. And managing these will help the fleet planners and managers to optimize their operations well. Next, please. And sometimes during circumstances, like transit circumstances, it change, whether a traffic delay or delay at border crossing or anything. So the logistic manager struggles to identify the location of the goods and in turn cannot provide accurate predictions for arrival of the customer or even the next mode of transportation. So when it comes to multimodal shipping, real-time monitoring is critical, but challenging because the inconsistency of tracking of goods across modalities. So here provides an end-to-end solution to track high-value goods across mode of transportation, or even integrates with leading logistics systems to provide more detail and accuracy of the location of goods and potential points of disruption. Next, please. And with that, using a single platform to centralize the operation does help. Because in the last mile context, we have seen fleets moving proof of delivery to digital, to sign on glass. And we move to adopt COVID-safe methodologies and contact-free deliveries, where the driver needs to be provided with the tools to manage the handover. And this is by giving the customer transparent visibility and proof of delivery, closing that trade loop that is accessible via mobile, tablet, or even other devices. Next, please. And being connected always while on the road is not a given thing, especially if you're in a location where there's no data network. Our last mile solution allows driver to download the maps and go offline and still able to navigate when they are offline to their destination. So when the network is then available, we can get real-time traffic information and able to be rerouted accordingly. Next, please. And fleet and logistics managers are always looking to understand driver performance and identify more effective routing options. Now, with post-trip analysis, you can see whether drivers adhere to the road regulations, followed the route you generated for them, or ran into unforeseen delays. Now, some companies also want to provide coaching or usage-based insurance based on fact-oriented data regarding driver performance. Next, please. Now, here are some measurable impacts that we have calculated in terms of cost and operational efficiencies without here last mile solution. For example, stops per tour or run can increase between 15 to 30%, and estimated time arrival accuracy can also increase. between 15 to 25%, and includes utilization of vehicles, expanded it, and fleet operating costs to reduce it. Next, please. So key takeaways and value propositions that we want to bring with this service are to ensure optimized operational efficiencies and reduce cost to customers. And we want to make sure that the features suits not just the fleet managers, but drivers as well. And we want to ensure that the last mile service effectively will help the service quality that has to be performed towards consumers. Next, please. So if you'd like to know further on our solutions, please scan the QR code as displayed here. So thank you for your time. And let me pass the next session to our host, Jane. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Eliza, for the presentation and highlights of your technology solution capabilities that also provides context for our following discussion. But before we transition to the panel, we have another couple more questions for the audience to get a better sense of your audience needs for specific kinds of technology. So just 2 questions. We will not hold you too far back from the exciting panel to be coming up. Okay. So while you work through that, okay, allow a few more seconds for you to complete the poll. In the meantime, allow me to introduce our panel speakers who will be discussing the topic, racing against the rising tide of last mile fulfillment challenges and exploring opportunities ahead. Leading them in conversation is our moderator, Mr. Stanislav Melnikov, Associate Partner at McKinsey & Company Indonesia. Our panelists are Mr. Kushal Rajveer, Head of Supply Chain Solutions, Asia Pacific at Here Technology. Joining him is Pak Daldi Ilham Masita, CEO of Capsule and former chairman of the Indonesian Logistics Association. Also on the panel is Pak Jan Hendrik Jawena, founder and CEO of Loda Indonesia. We also have Mr. Amit Baga, Chief Revenue Officer of Far Eye, and last but not least, Mr. Santosh Singh Kumar, Director of Product Management at Libby.com. We have a great lineup of speakers who have a lot to say on the topic, so please feel free to interact and post your questions to them using the Q&A function, please. Questions will be tackled as they occur where they relate to the discussion. So with that, let's get into discussion as I hand things over to Stanislav.
Thanks a lot, Jane. And hello, everybody. So before we start and with all the questions, there is a Q&A section. And obviously, I will ask our panelists some questions, but feel free to find it. I see already like some questions are coming. It means somebody already found it. So feel free to find it as well and just send the questions. Some of them we will answer live. Some of them we might answer after the session. Santosh, we finished the introduction with you. Let me then start with you, if it's okay. Thanks a lot for joining. So Santosh, you're representing Blibli. You're basically representing one of marketplace platforms on Indonesian market. I just wanted to ask you, can you share your view, what is currently going on the market on e-commerce last mile market specifically? And maybe you can share from the platform point of view, what kind of key pain points do you see in last mile logistics for marketplace platform for large e-commerce player on the market?
Thanks, Stan. So there are 3 key trends that I would like to highlight from a marketplace business point of view. One is the international and cross-border e-commerce that is on the rise. You can see about 6 to 7% year-on-year growth in that, with a very limited knowledge of the land, right? So all these cross-border sellers or the international sellers, right? They have no knowledge of the land, of the rules and the customs, and they need that last mile partner, right? So Blibli is also partnering with a lot of international sellers on that front, but still you can say that we still lack that efficiency in terms of the last mile fulfillment for international orders. They need local players with technology to support and manage their entire last mile. So therefore, so that they can focus on the marketplace front. But as of now, I think that is one area. The cross-border commerce has grown in Singapore, that it has grown in Malaysia. So it's a coming trend in Indonesia. And I think that's where a lot of inefficiency is still there as far as last mile partners are concerned. Then there are the big traditional players, right? The FMCG of the world, and they have also understood the rise of the digital commerce and the marketplace, right? So they would also they are also in this rise of having collaboration and partnership with a lot of shipping aggregators or fulfillment aggregators to take their business from tier 1 cities to tier 2 and beyond. But still, I think there's a lack of technology to do it sustainably. But in cities, you have the volumes, so you can do it with collaboration with a couple of partners. But when you move beyond tier 1, right, that's where the costs start becoming a pressurizing parameter, and then you look for non-technical ways to handle it. But I think that's the place where new players with technology, you have fulfillment aggregators, you have shipping aggregators coming in with technology and filling up that gap. And then the third and the most important in marketplace is the online sellers, right? So in Indonesia, we have a lot. You can see there's a trend towards pure play marketplace. A lot of online sellers, first-time sellers coming on online platform, bringing their assortment. But then there is an added pressure of doing fulfillment, doing packaging, managing managing guidelines of so many logistics players, and then ensuring either through dropship or self driving deliver it to the customers, right? While ideally the sellers should be focusing on assortment and improving the marketplace presence, right? So I think there still a lot of platforms like similar to Blibli has offered solutions like FBA. So we have Fulfilled by Blibli, Fulfilled by Shopee. You have Toko Cabang from Tokopedia. But I think still it's very limited to about 5 to 10% of the sellers only. And a large number of sellers are still left in the open to manage their deliveries, manage the deliveries of their parcels on their own or through the platform provided 3PLs. Many of them have very inconsistent policies or inconsistent tracking mechanisms to ensure that the customers get their packages within their defined ETAs and promised ETAs. So I think these are the three key areas that I would like to highlight from the marketplace business point of view that I have been observing over the past 3 years here.
Thanks a lot, Santosh. So just to summarize, basically one big point is cross-border and the transparency of cross-border. Second, how to reach tier 2, tier 3 cities and how to go beyond Jakarta, Surabaya, etc. And number 3, so we are still in drop shipping mode while the market maybe should go into like fulfilled by Amazon mode. Let me ask our panelist, Amit, is it okay if I start with you? So anything to add in terms of pain points? What else do you see on the market?
I'm going to echo a little bit of what Santosh said. For example, especially in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of lack of clarity around the customs challenges, etc. So cost to serve becomes a challenge along with predictability and timing as well. And scalability is another thing. Again, intra-city delivery with same-day delivery service, those kind of new elements that are coming in really need a new look at how we get customers' orders in and what's the promise to fulfill. The fulfillment by Blibli kind of a model that makes sense, but how do you actually then integrate a lot of carriers, get visibility across these carriers in a seamless way, so that the customer's experience is consistent across multiple products that they're buying, multiple ways in which that they're fulfilling, etc. And then also as we expand out into the different geographies, I saw somebody talk about multifunction, fulfillment centers, micro fulfillment centers, but looking at really understanding how we leverage the power of the Southeast Asian market and like in Indonesia, the warungs, and how do we actually use that to expand and provide that experience through technology and education to really be able to bring that level of engagement in the network up. Right, I would say those would be still challenges. And being able to measure them through the NPS of the customers, which I'll probably reiterate a few times, backwards into the organizations, into how we measure our success is going to be the next big thing for us.
Clear. I mean, so we are adding to the list cost to serve. And we are adding, I think, this multi-modal visibility that also I see our people, Martin Dudek, mentioned also in the question and answers. Kushal, anything to add to the list?
Well, I think a lot have been covered by Santosh and Amit, but probably another angle, what we have been experiencing from a location perspective, obviously that's the theme that our company works for. The maturity of addressing system within the entire Indonesian ecosystem and some markets, that's also, I would say, needs to go under fast track evolution stage, because that is also driving a lot of key operational drivers when you talk about a parcel movement and parcel journey. So right from the platforms to the 3PLs and anybody who is related to the ecosystem, means they all understand that how important is now the oxygen and treasure of correct location, and it can drive everything. So I think that's one of the pointers that also needs to be catered, and which is also becoming super important.
Understood, Kushal. Thanks a lot. Azaldi, what do you think? Anything to add to our list? It's already long, to be frank.
Yeah, I think what we see that for the last mile is Indonesia. I think for the last 3 months actually, or starting in the Q1 in 2021 is changing a lot, especially with the COVID conditions. And before that, last year's everybody is going for the next day or regular. But now the new normal for last mile Indonesia is the same day. So it's become much faster now. So next day is already too long. But the other issue, because now we can see a lot of core product coming to the e-commerce. Core product, I mean groceries, fresh product, where their basket size is not too big compared to the gadgets or electronics or fashions. That is become a very, very challenging for the last mile operator in Asia to keep the speed is much faster, but you need to keep your cost is lower. So that is very challenging. Where in the old normal that you want to faster delivery, you pay more. But now for what I see in the market for the last 6 months, they're asking you need to faster and lower. So I think that this will be very challenging for all operator of last mile in Asia. And that is become very, very interesting to see how the operator can react for this new requirement for the new normal in last mile.
Azaldi, I think it's not only for Indonesia, but I think everywhere people are trying to have it faster and cheaper.
Yeah, readiness to pay is very low. It's very low everywhere in the world. So it should be delivered to your door in 1 hour and for free. Jan, let us finish with you the list. I think I added also to the list this fast and cheap delivery everywhere, whenever I wanted. Like anything else that you want to add to the list of pain points?
Yeah, I think one that very interesting in terms of last mile fulfillment on how we are going to improve and ease of the pain point that we face in Indonesia. I think one that addressed by Kushal is, I agree, is the location accuracy. Because in Indonesia, I mean, like the address formats, the conditions of the streets, the naming formats and everything is a lot of room for improvements to be done there. So in relations to that, I mean, if we can improve that angle, it also will improve the cost directly or indirectly, because we are talking about real operations. The courier will be very efficient in terms of attempting the delivery points to the right address without they have to get circle around and get lost for a few times, and then they just arrive after a delay for 15 to 20 minutes for looking that specific address. And at the end of the day, come back to the point that has been addressed by the other panelists: logistics anywhere in the world, it will be associated to the cost. And the market has been spoiled the customers a little bit, or probably even more, for the customers to receive everything faster at a cheaper price. The challenges is you cannot do this alone in the ecosystems or in the market. You have to do this together, regardless of whether you like it or not. You have to collaborate in terms of making this thing happen by reducing the cost and improving the delivery SLA to the end consumers. You have to collaborate. That I think that I can one point that I can add to the list for the discussion, Stas.
Yeah, thanks, Lotte. So I think to summarize, yeah, one big point is obviously the cost, and that comes in different direction. It's the location accuracy, it comes into the cost. It's like all the cross-border problems comes into the cost, etc. And another point is what I see also in Q&A and what we mentioned is multi-modal visibility. Like many platforms, how do you ensure that you know where actually the goods? Then we are still in drop shipment, and it's still like market of many players instead of like 1, 2, 3 big players. And yeah, I think those will be in scalability issue. Yeah, scalability issue is the last. So when we look now onto the list, it's obviously like quite large and quite complex. Simple question: is there a silver bullet? Is there a solution that one fits all? Like we mentioned already, fulfilled by Amazon, or I don't know, like somebody can remember China. Is there such solution possible on Indonesian market? This time, let's probably start with Pazaldi. Pazaldi, do you think there is a silver bullet that solves all the pain points on the market?
I think the challenge is this for the related with location is to change the habit from 1D address to 2D address. This is a big challenge. Because if you cannot become 2D address, you cannot do any optimizations on that. And then that to educate the market, the users, even the seller or buyer, to start using 2D, that is very tough in Indonesia on that. So if you cannot change your addressing from 1D to 2D, all your optimization tools and everything will be not run. And if you're doing a hybrid models, is some of your customer you handling 1D, and it is the other customer that using instant delivery using 2D, then your cost of delivery with the courier productivity is very low, because you need to have two different set of team on that. So I think for here or Google Map or other applications, I think the challenge is how you make it the new behavior for addressings from 1D to 2D. Because if we are not doing a 2D, then no optimization tool will be running. This is my suggestion, and I think my friend Jan already mentioned that the addressing in Indonesia is not same like in Singapore. In Singapore, their postal code have a 6-digit postal code. Indonesia, Singapore is like Jakarta. So Indonesia is only 5-digit postal code. So if you can see the gap is very big on that. So is in outside Jakarta, one postal code can cover around 20 kilometers radius. So
I think let us move into like more solution mode, because I agree. You're adding to our previous list of pain points now. So is there a solution? I hear one solution that you're suggesting. So all together we can start to educate basically the customer and make it clear to the customers that you need to pay for instant, you need to pay for 1D, and then like second-day delivery will become standard. Probably not so easy. Yeah, the market already came to the point everybody wants everything instant. Is there a solution on the platform side, on the delivery side, that can help in the current market condition? Maybe Pazaldi already mentioned Jan. Maybe Jan, you can jump in here. What do you think? Is there a silver bullet from the platform side and from the delivery side?
Well, to be straightforward to answer that, Stas, there's no silver bullet for these solutions at the meantime. I mean, if there's one, I think we are all here in the panelists and they all attend this in this webinar willing to learn to get that solutions. But there's progressive, I can say progressive alternative solutions that we can build in order to improve the situations. Again, with the challenge that we have in terms of the address format, we can educate the customers. That one point had been addressed by Pazaldi. But in the meantime, for us to bring down the cost and deliver efficient solutions to customers, we don't have to repeat or reinventing the operations by having our own fleets, hubs, and everything. But we can leverage all the existing assets of any other companies in the ecosystems of logistics in Indonesia to be our network. So if we look at the model of China, for example, in China, since our company is trying to study that model on the early days of their being born by Alibaba, what we understood, they are not heavy on asset at that time. They just have volumes from Alibaba. They have volumes from Alibaba, and they are leveraging on the existings of logistics players' assets in China. And what they build is the technology. So one keyword that we have to collaboratively concentrate on is to build the technology that can suit with the entire existing operations. So it can be a solutions on the first stage to improve our last mile pain points, especially in Indonesia. Because Indonesia, you're talking about Jakarta, you're talking about Java, that's different game. You are talking about outer island, that's another different game. In Java and Sumatra, we have different challenges in operations on the field when they are trying to go out and deliver the packages, right? And in Sulawesi, even more. On further to the east of Indonesia, even harder. So I think the common ground that we have to agree and look on is there any technology that we can use or leverage to connect the entire stakeholders, whether it's the platform of e-commerce, the platform of transportations, the platform for another institution, let's say for a fintech, for example, to play part in the ecosystem. So it becomes a very complete and universal. I'll try to find the word universal for us to use. And I think if we use that, I'm not guaranteed that first stage of solution of technology will be able to cover like 3 years or 5 years evolutions. I'm sure it will be facing another challenges within like 1 or 2 years down the road because of the market evolutions, because of the market strategy trying to improve customer satisfactions and bring down the cost all the time. So I think there's no silver bullet, but we can concentrating on the universal technologies that we can use together, leveraging the existing operations to connect together. That's what I can share about this point, Stas. There's no silver bullet on that.
Okay. So, but what I hear from you, there is a still tech solution, digital solution for many of the problems. Any other opinions? Anybody thinks that without building physical infrastructure, it's still like not possible, and that there is like maybe not enough physical infrastructure? Maybe we need like another China with all the fulfillment centers, etc. So, maybe Santosh, if I can ask you to jump here, because I know you might have the point of view from the platform.
So yeah, so I can answer for the marketplaces in and around that I've been seeing. If you look at the past 2-3 years and the next coming 2 to 3 years in future, all the major marketplaces like Tokopedia, Shopee, and Blibli for that matter, right? There are two parts to the story. So one is Java, and then there is something beyond Java, right? So the Java island, where you have all the major cities like Jakarta, Bandung, Yogyakarta, They are moving towards this strategic in-house on-premise warehousing and fulfillment by platform model. So that's where they're trying, because that's where the volume of order justifies the cost of doing fulfillment, doing last mile deliveries on the own, and making that delivery experience consistent and reliable for the customers. But when you go beyond Java, and that's where the challenge is, which I think Jan mentioned, we tried. So I'll give you an example of an experiment that we did. We tried multi-model fulfillment, or you can say multi-leg fulfillment, that we say. And in that, couple of major challenges that came. One was the address issue that I think Kushal has been advocating. Yes, when you go to multi-leg fulfillment, right, the address issue actually multiplies. And then the second thing is tracking, right? Because from the time you start, let's say if there are two partners doing your fulfillment, at what point do you start tracking from the second airway bill versus the first airway bill, right? So today, as of now, we don't have, I don't see we have an efficient technology that can handle this multi-leg fulfillment. But if in future, if we are able to figure out a way to probably do this multi-leg fulfillment in an efficient way, and I think I agree with Jan's solution, it's a digital solution, it's a tech solution. You don't have to build a physical infrastructure a lot beyond Java, because there are local players in each and every island. So essentially what you actually need to solve this problem sustainably is to collaborate with them in an efficient manner, so that today it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of manual intervention involved, right? And that's why it's costly when you go for such collaborations. And that's what we experienced when we tried it for the first time, right? But I expect that in future, with the help of technology, with the help of these digital systems, right, if we are able to pass on this information seamlessly without a lot of manual intervention, I think that would sustainably solve the problem of reaching beyond Java in a sustainable way, in a more time efficient way. I think, and that's where the China model, right? When you partner with other fulfillment partners or last mile partners in the islands, that will come to a picture. So I say we have two challenges there. One is in the Java, where you see the city life, and then there's like beyond Java, where you have like tier 2 cities which are upcoming, and the islands, isolated islands.
Thanks, Santosh. I think Martin Dudek and people who are supporting his question on the multimodal visibility across various delivery assets, I hear Santosh answer, they haven't solved this question. So maybe there is a technical solution, but it sounds like a very complex problem. I mean, you know, you're doing it, right? That's basically how you make your money for life, about the multimodal visibility, etc. Do you think there's a place and there is a technical solution for Indonesia to have this multimodal visibility and build this like technical part of solution?
Correct. So look, we've got to look at it from 2 or 3 levers and how we work through it. Now, I'll tackle one thing at a time. So you know, and we can work through. I'm going to come from a purely technology perspective, delivery focused technology perspective, right? So we're working with like Hero Technologies together, where the routing applications that we have layered on top of the mapping applications actually are self-learning, and they start creating assets on the digital maps around the first time delivery. So for example, if you know the first time the experience of the driver was that they had to park 10 minutes away somewhere and walk up into a village or into a building and then go up 4 floors, then the application starts remembering that and learning that and populating that back. So that's where the collaboration between the 2 technology players come into play. And then that's a self-learning application that continues to build on that. So the first time is the learning curve, and then you start basically modifying it from there based on driving further improvements and optimizations, right? The second thing that we are looking at is various different, once you've got this baseline, then we start looking at optimizing the routing application. Then here you got to really map the offer with the solution, which means you've got to involve the customer back in and give them optionality. So in that case, we are working with companies like Gartner who are doing research for the consumers to understand that, hey, For example, contrary to popular opinion, the Indonesian customers are willing for a same-day service to pay 40 rupiah versus 40,000 rupiah versus 20,000 for non same-day deliveries. Now we can start looking at it, with the right technology solutions in play. You can start giving customers optionality around whether you want a green solution, right? It will come. You can choose this slot, and here's the benefit you get, and you're also contributing to the environment through green. Where that is not something that resonates, then you can start playing on cost and cost of delivery and give them optionality. It's interesting. The more transparency that we build in through the technology platforms to the consumers, and they have the ability to make informed decisions. The ability to reconcile that against the orders and fulfillment starts improving, right? So again, research shows that. So we are working a lot around providing that visibility. Now, how do you do that across multi-boards? So there are again multiple things. You want to have, like what we're doing is like a single platform that manages your own fleet, but it also manages onboards carriers. Then we go and enable the carriers with minimal technologies. You don't have, the reality is you cannot go and put digital assets into motorcycles and cycles everywhere. We look at using multiple smaller technologies and simple technologies to try and get as much traceability, and the rest of it you use through AI ML to drive to build routes around those areas, right? And then in areas which are far flung, you want to explore. What we do is we explore technologies like driver crowdsourcing through local players who where you enroll local players who understand local delivery boys, who understand girls, who understand the local place, and you enable them through a driver crowdsourcing kind of a model, again through technology, to be able to track and deliver the parcel with them, right? So again, it's not something you can do overnight, but with technology, just to expand on what Jan was talking, what Santosh was talking, you start layering each of these elements of technologies into each of these areas to drive incremental improvements and measure it, and use data that we capture from that to measure how we're driving that improvement across both intra-cities and long range multimodal fulfillment model.
Thanks, Amit. I think Junaidi, I just looking through questions, answers. I think that answers the question about the combination of local wisdom, knowledge, and automated centralized roads. So basically, that's what companies as Farah and I am sure like Amit can mention the other competitors are doing for life. Yeah. Understood about technical solution, digital solution. The question still stays. So there are local players, of course, with fulfillment centers, with some delivery companies, etc. But is there really like a big local player like China has this fulfillment centers around the country, or can such player actually occur on the market? Let's assume like one of large CPG players or one of large retail companies will decide tomorrow, I want to spin off logistic arm and I want to have it as a player on e-commerce market. Do you see this scenario as possible scenario? And do you think like such players, such new big entrants will have the right and will have the place to play on the market? Kushal, if okay, can we start with you this time?
Yeah, thanks. Well, a couple of things here. So a player coming up in the same shape and form like China will not change the dynamics of the market to start with. I know it's a big, bold statement, but the parameters and the symptoms of the problems that we have just listed with you, Stan, right, will remain the same. It will probably take quite a lot of time for the progression and evolution for this particular player to become the beast to consume every volume that's coming in, or probably majority of the volume that's being generated. And we all know that Indonesia is growing at a mammoth pace. Means we have the numbers that we can't even think of. So the the angle to this would be not to have that one player, one umbrella replicating what China did in China, because again, the ecosystem of how Alibaba made the entire backend operations in sync with something this was completely different. That's not happening in Indonesia. Indonesia, the market is very, very, fragmented. There are so many platforms, so many players. The problems on the commercial side and the consumer side is also a bit different. So if you put all these issues in a blender, means it won't change overnight, even if you bring in one uniform player all across. So coming back to it, right? And again, touching in on the multimodal and a couple of problems that Jan and Santosh was also discussing about, means we all know in last mile in the parcel journey, a parcel changes hand around 8 to 10 times, means easily, if you're talking about different layers. And the control portion, whenever it's handed over to a different sort center or different 3PL or even a different party altogether. So the particular status updates that comes, which helps the players to probably keep the customer informed and also the parties who are anticipating that particular parcel informed. That is the chain where there's a lot of blind spots that happens. And as a result of that, there's always a gap between, or majority of the time, there's a gap between the physical status and the system status, which connects all the dots. So if a bigger player like China comes in, probably I foresee that these issues and what Amit was talking about, like, creating a bigger platform and adding layer on it, I think that is one of the things that it may bring in, but it will take a lot of time for it to be effective in the way where, the last mile cost, which around takes 50 to 60% now, we'll see going down. Because right now we all know that the platforms are subsidizing the last mile cost, which is probably, more than what they are charging to the clients as well. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Thanks, Kushal. Azaldi, what's your view? Is there a place for big player on the market, and do you think this scenario is actually possible for Indonesian market?
I think we see of a big player coming in, and we know some of the big player already here, but no one have quite big market share. I think the biggest player of last mile is still less than 25% of market share. And also, if we see for the e-commerce player, we have 2 big giant like Tokopedia and Shopee. Also, both of them is not really a big to like if you compare with China. So I think a lot of mistakes that I've been seeing for the last 10 years for the new solutions or new technology coming to Indonesia, they forget the precondition is not there yet. So you just cannot plug and play on that because the precondition is not there here yet. So that is, I think, will be very challenging for us, because if you see one of the big last mile, one courier, they can reach around 200 drops per day. That is the max. But in China, one courier is 400 to 500 drops per day. So that is make the cost of delivery is very big. On that, that's why all the e-commerce platform doing burn their money for the last mile, because the number is still. When we see why is the Indonesian courier only 200 and China can reach 400 to 500, one of them, because in China 90% of their delivery is to the smart locker. But Indonesia, to move that direction will take years on that, because we still have issue with the addressing and other things. So I think this is, I think we are quite lucky with this COVID condition, because everybody get pushed to the online, to digital. And now is to make sure that our cost delivery, what is mean cheap, is mean that is win-win. No one is burning money. So that is now we look like cheap because somebody doing burning of the money. So to make it cheap and everybody is win-win, we need to have optimization. We need to have more automation. But this optimization or automations cannot be there if your precondition is not Indonesia yet. So that is my view.
Understood, Padaldi. I think Padaldi already touched the topic about new last mile solutions. So I think I hear new big player will not probably change situation because so it was already attempts, not really successful. So now new solutions, any new tech solutions, will that change situation? I look in the world, there is a drone deliveries, there are smart lockers, there are like clean delivery, which people are asking in like Q&A. Can any of these really move a needle for Indonesia, or here situation is quite unique? Santosh, we probably start with you.
I think for looking into let's say something like fuel efficiency in terms of or let's say environmental considerations, right, in last mile delivery, I think Indonesia is still 5 to 10 years away from that. We are still seeing that growth journey. So probably putting environmental considerations and less carbon footprints while delivering, I think that discussion probably will happen after 5 years. But today, I think if you look at the city life, smart lockers are already there as part of a solution. If you go to proper city, if you go to proper residential apartments and all, you find smart lockers there. Drone delivery, I'm not sure. I don't think even in the cities in Indonesia, a drone delivery would be a possibility for the next at least 5 years, right? Because the whole geography, right, the whole traffic situation and the people, and it's so densely populated. I don't see drone delivery coming up as a unique solution there. But yes, a couple of things that have come up, right, and I'll like to point it out. Is one is the micro fulfillment, right? When Zaldi was saying about optimization, one of the optimization is basically you keep the inventory near to the customer, so you keep it as closer to the customer so that it's as easy as pick up from the next store. So I think micro fulfillment using MSMEs, Warungs as a micro fulfillment solution, this is something that people have been trying a lot. And I think the marketplaces have started opening up their arm in that MSME space also, which we call Mitra ecosystem, right? So I think that's one of the solutions that we are seeing in Indonesia. It's unique to Indonesia. So all these marketplaces investing in this Mitra ecosystem, and then these Mitras are your Warungs and offline shops next to your doorstep, so you can get the deliveries to your place in a cheap and a fast fashion. So that's more like a small innovation, a local innovation. And then if you look at other technologies, right, so curbside pickup, because the mall culture in at least the city, right, if you look it within Java, I wouldn't go beyond Java, but if you look at it within Java, the mall culture is still out there. People do visit malls, so curbside pickup or pickup at store these are still very popular options, which essentially cuts down your cost a little bit, right? Not entirely, but yes, it transfers the pain point to the customer. But looking at a much, you can say, innovative solution like drone and all, I think we are still way ahead, way behind. We have 4 to 5 years in our hands to reach that stage.
Okay, thank you, Santosh. I'm looking on time, Tim. We have around 4 minutes. Can we probably do a quick round, because we already touched many topics? Quick round of one simple question, and I would really encourage you to have only one answer. What is next big thing in e-commerce last mile in Indonesia? And if you maybe look on the global trends, like how basically the global trends are also affected. One next big thing in last mile e-commerce. Jan, if okay, can we start with you?
Yeah. Okay. It's an eco-friendly delivery. We are Santosh touched a bit on reducing carbon footprints. We are not touching on that issue because probably in the market it's not too popular. But the truth is, if we want to reduce the cost, at the same time, you have to help us to preserve the planet as well. I think if there's any one strategy that we want to push and accelerate in the next 3 to 5 years, even faster if possible, we'll try to do efficient delivery, but at the same time reducing the carbon footprints, reducing the cost.
Thanks, Jan. Amit.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, we talked a lot about different technologies that will bring in. I guess one important thing which I would urge, given the fact that there's about 15 to 16 platforms that are all vying for attention in Indonesia. There's a lot of different delivery companies as well. There's a lot of things happening. Is effectively looking at treating last mile delivery as a consolidated model where you're trying to optimize loads by not having multiple people service the same customer with different angles, but using technology to balance and take empty miles out of the environment, and actually looking at collaborating in the fulfillment strategies, but using technology to drive your brand experience rather than using multiple different ways to do it. So I feel if there's enough collaboration between the platforms and especially for this area to lower the cost of delivery, we've got about 25-30% fluctuation against your GDP for last mile cost compared to 5% in the developed world, right? And you can't change the geography, you can't change the technology, you can't change the infrastructure. It is what it is. Think about bringing that all together, leverage the power of many, and focus on delivering your experience through different technology services.
Okay, thanks, Amit. So we have green delivery, we have collaboration through the technology. Kushal, what is your next big thing?
Well, just to add on to what Amit was saying, so probably another angle is building upon the synergy models that so many brands and so many platforms, last mile companies are working in a very distinct manner. So they need to collaborate for sure. Also, the whole e-commerce business, which puts a lot of pressure on e-commerce, is the business as usual split versus seasonality when the campaign season starts. And then all these pointers that we talk about when you have the kilometers wastage or the resources wastage or the idle times, that needs to find some market on business as usual as well. So that's also a big waste that we set out on. The platforms actually have the power not to pay for it. And the 3PLs have to be ready, whenever you have to get ready for the campaign seasons. So I think these are all very practical operational problems where across synergies and that somebody has to come together and talk about this, because it's not helping the market overall. Somebody is burning the money. And covering the sustainability part means, Santosh, probably I differ slightly with you, probably not 4 or 5 years, but it will be a topic that we will be talking about very, very soon. People are waking up and they are looking with a big microscope now what's happening in Southeast Asia. You'll agree.
That's true. That's true. Thanks, Kushal. Azaldi, what do you think next big thing for e-commerce delivery?
I think the big things for Indonesia, I think will be happening next 2 years or 3 years. We can see that the distributor become a last mile player. I think that's a big thing, because actually currently for the distributor, they have more stocks or more volumes than the e-commerce player. And I think their transition to become last mile player is already there. So I think that is a big thing will happen in Indonesia.
Thanks, Azaldi. Santosh, let us finish with you. What do you think? Next big thing.
I see. So what I have observed, and I think in the next few years, or at least 4 to 5 years, there has been a lot of interest in that space of enablers, last mile enablers, these aggregator business models who aggregate through technology with local players and ensure that they manage the fulfillment and delivery for all the sellers online. I think that's a space which has been growing for the past 2 years, and I see this growing in the future as well. So I basically a similar answer to what Amit and Kushal was saying, but in a different twist, saying that there will be players who will be coming as an aggregator model, more like fulfillment aggregators, marketplaces of fulfillment, marketplaces of last mile delivery, and they would be solving this through technology. I think that would be, I think, the next big thing coming in.
Thanks a lot, Santosh. I think let us finish with this, because like many thoughts obviously after discussion, and thanks a lot everybody once again for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Bye.
healthy,
Thanks, everyone.
safe.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone. That was very exciting. And so I'm afraid we've come up to time. Please join me now in thanking all our speakers again. We do hope you found today's session enlightening.